thank you. The part of that story that Stephen conveniently leaves out is that that spot was open for a while, and I had a tough time filling it because I had two people that could possibly do the job. But Stephen went on vacation and came back, and he sat down at my desk for his one-on-one. He's like, "I want this job." And at that moment, I was like, "All right," because you asked for it. You wanted this job, and I said, I think I even said, "You asked for it." And the fire hose was turned on. That's a big dog product to have at that time because we didn't text then. Everything was over Messenger, and there was no Slack or Teams or any of that stuff. All right, so my name is Rick Eames, and this originally was titled "Keep Your Career Advancing in Times of Change," but I like this one better, which is "How's the UX guy running product for a finance team?" Which is a perfectly good question for somebody to ask. I have been doing, and I'm going to look at my notes occasionally, so forgive me. I don't have Alzheimer's, I promise you, and I'm not looking at Twitter. I have been doing software, I realized today, for 30 years now, which is a daunting number for me. But I started out at, and I'm not going to give you the full boring history, but I started at Apple Computer, working on a computer that my children look at and marvel. They're like, "How did you ever use a screen like that big? And it's ugly." But I started out at Apple Computer and vectored, and this is going to be a story of vectoring and why you need to vector in your career. Started at Apple, I went to Boston for a while and did a startup there that got wildly out of control. It failed out of success. And the software got licensed by Apple, but none of us ended up at Apple. We all ended up at Microsoft, which was really odd. But Microsoft had formed a group in the Bay Area specifically dedicated to Mac and left the hell alone. And we loved it. We used to say we were the best funded Mac startup that ever existed because we could do anything we wanted, nobody cared. So I went from, I did the stint at Microsoft lasted 15 long years. Until I needed a change. And while at Microsoft, I owned design twice. I ran product for bunches of products, Hotmail, Spaces, Groups, Messenger. And then finally the homepage, and then I figured I'd done it all and I needed to go. Took a break, did a startup, failed quickly on that, thank God, we didn't lose a lot of money. Then I ended up at GoDaddy as their Senior Vice President of UX and Design. Great job, great challenge of having to rebrand a company that was seen as anti-women. And a whole bunch of us Microsoft people had taken it over. The commute got to be tremendously hard on me, because it was Scottsdale 3 or 4 days a week, and then back here. And that got grueling. I don't travel that well. Oddly, I work at a travel company now. So, took another break and ended up at Expedia about 10 months ago. And I took the role that I did at Expedia. I am in what's called SCTS, which is, think of when you click the book button on Expedia, you go through our system. You get routed all over the place. It's got to hold the hotel. It's got to go get the price. It's got to do all this stuff. And then it's got to stuff it somewhere. So we've got an Oracle section of my group. We've got a transactional system. We've got people that figure out the taxes, which I've learned that could be its own company. It's tremendously difficult in jurisdictions because you can imagine every country is trying to get their piece of the pie, and so it becomes payments, and they love to audit. So that's sort of my group. My group's about this size, actually, of program managers, or product managers, sorry. So how did I end up being on a finance team? I did it on purpose, and I'm going to talk about that tonight, about pushing yourself and making decisions to grow. Because as you'll see, my kind coaching here is this slide. Adapt or die. And I really believe in this. I think that in careers, you can, I've watched many people, because I've been around a long time, I've watched many people get fixated on, I have to own a certain thing, I have to do a certain thing, I only like this, and they peter out and they die. And that is never good for you if you care enough about your career and you care about where you're going to go, you do that. And I've run I've run pure product teams, I've run design teams, I've run hybrid teams, I've worked on desktop, services, all of those vectors, I had to learn something. Going from working on a Mac to being part of the group that said, hey, we just bought this little company called Hotmail. Can you guys go figure that out and bring it into Microsoft? We knew nothing about operations, we didn't know anything about uptime, we had no idea what a data center was, we knew nothing, but we had to learn it all. And out of that learning, we grew. And that became part of our toolbox. And you'll hear me talk about that a lot. You want to build up your toolbox. Because here's the thing, no matter what the thing is, as you've been in this business long enough, it's still problem solving. It doesn't matter what the problem is. You can take a great product manager and throw them at a completely weird problem. And if they learn about it and they are dedicated to it, they'll figure it out. Because it's the patterns are the same. What's my stakeholder? What's the problem? What do they want? What is all this? And then you go figure out how to get it done. So that doesn't change. And your career is always a marathon. I mean, you can't look at it as a sprint. Don't try to get ahead too fast. That's a mistake we've seen many, many people make in my career. They go too fast and they die because they're trying to grab the ring too high and they don't have that staying power. So think of it as a marathon. And always remember that things will always change. Just when you get comfortable and you think, oh, this is a nice little product, boom, you get disrupted. Something's going to happen to you. It always has. And so you kind of get this zen calmness about yourself. You're like, oh, okay, that happened. Let's go figure that out. So these are my slides tonight. This is the designer part of me. I'm not going to give you bullet points because I think those suck. So I believe that you have to be curious. That a good product manager is curious. And why would they need to be curious? What is the thing they're looking for when they're talking to people? Or they're looking at a problem? What would you think? It's the biggest thing. What does curiosity give us? The ability to do what?
Understand this question.
That's right. Newton asked why. And that's the thing, that there are a lot of people you can point to the problem and they'll do nothing. They'll really, really do nothing. But there are other people that are curious and they want to go find out why. They're the type of people that get in the car that they're about to buy and go, why the hell would somebody put a cup holder here? I can't even move my arm here. Like that's the sort of thing, the thing that's always going in your head, trying to figure out what users are going to do, what you're going to do, how you're going to interact with this, what system is going to touch my system, and what, how's that interaction supposed to go? So that is what curiosity is. Which leads us to, and I will say, sorry, I missed the point. You've got to be, I believe in generalists. I don't believe in people that specialize. I believe in generalists. I think the generalists, by far, that I've met, solve more problems. And first movie reference. How many people, hopefully you're Marvel fans, anybody see this little movie like last year called Infinity War? So there's a moment in Infinity War. Our heroes, Tony and Peter, have been jumped on this ship and they're out, and they've got this bad guy, Thanos' minion, holding Doctor Strange. And Peter's sitting there, and Tony is he specializes. He's thinking the technical way to get out of this. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Peter, who's like a generalist and just pure energy, thinks of a movie, right? He's like, what? Have you ever seen Alien? And his thing was to blow the guy out the airlock. And Tony would have thought of years and never come up with that. And that's because Peter's mind was connecting different things. He was seeing the problem in different ways, which is what happens when you know lots of things about lots of things. You become a generalist. And I want to hammer that home, because it's part of the learning. I want you to always be learning. Always advancing because you learn. Don't become a super expert. The super experts go nowhere. They don't go nowhere. That's harsh. But their longevity is diminished. Because if you, like in my world, let's think about this. We've got an Oracle database that we run. And if you're the best Oracle person, and then we take Oracle away, what do? That's what you know. You've known that for years. You've got 20 years into Oracle. I don't know what to do. Because you didn't take the time to learn other things. You never moved. You didn't learn. We as product managers, we have to understand users. We have to understand designers. We have to understand engineers. We have to understand business people. We have to speak enough of their language. Get deep enough, not too deep, but deep enough to where we could have a meaningful discussion and connect all those things. And I liken it to a Hollywood director. You take your average Hollywood director, she didn't write the movie, she's not acting in the movie, she's not running the camera, she's not writing the score, but for all of that, she is directing the vision of all of those people in a direction. If she were to get behind the camera and got really good at being behind the camera, now she's a cinematographer, she's no longer a director. And I think that's what I think of when I think of product. Is that you keep yourself general enough so any problem that comes up, you're creative enough. IDEO excels at this. When they put teams together, I assume you all know who IDEO is. When they put teams together, they intentionally put weird people on the team that have nothing to do with anything. They're like, why is the musician here? Because the musician's going to think about the problem in a way that you didn't. And let's be honest, we have zero excuses to be learning. I sat through a meeting this morning where we were doing exit interview feedback. You're reading through the feedback, and people are like, oh, there's not enough training. I don't have enough training. Why don't we train? And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? You live in the world of training. It's like when I talk to my kids, I don't know how to do this math problem. You have YouTube, you have when I was a kid, my kids love that when I was a kid. If you didn't remember your homework or didn't know how to do the math problem, bummer. Like if you didn't live near a library, you weren't going to find it out. But it's all at your fingertips. We have everything. Does anybody here, other than me, have a subscription to O'Reilly or have access to it? That's good. You all should. You should get one. And if you live in Seattle, it comes free with the Seattle Library, by the way. If you have a library card, you can get it for free. And then put an app on your phone and an app on your iPad and download books, and you should always be reading and they're free. No excuse. Always utilize that. It's crazy the amount of information we have to learn. I can't even fathom when people do that. When I sit down and interview new product people, and I'll ask questions about what's the last book you read, what do you do when you're not here, like what's your activities? If I get dull answers or, I don't read, well, I don't want you on my team. I want you to be a good learner, because if you're a good learner, I don't care if you know X, I know you'll go figure it out. You're great at figuring things out and you've got energy, I can put you anywhere. If you have no energy, you're a one note, I have no use for you, because if everything changes, which it will, then I don't know what to do with you. And so that's something for you to always remember. So I've got one more movie reference. I didn't do a clip and I really wanted to, but I didn't know how this was all going to work out. But I'm sure Steven's seen this movie, some of you may have. At one time there must have been dozens of companies making buggy whips. And I'll bet the last company around was the best goddamn buggy whip maker that you ever saw. That's from a movie called Other People's Money, and it's at the very end when he's talking about a company. It's Danny DeVito. I know you shook your head, but it's a guy liquidating a company, and he's going to them in back east, and he's saying, your company's dead. So even if the yen and the dollar did the right thing and you were still alive, you're dead because of fiber optics, because of this. Everything changed on you, and you didn't change with it. And I put this up because I thought of when I was putting this on there. My wife and I are redoing our floors in our house. I called 2 companies out to come out. First guy comes in, old guy. He's got his box. He's got his, the metal clipboard thing that holds all the papers. He comes in and he's got this giant measuring tape. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, all the younger guys use laser measurers, but I can't get used to that. So he spends the next hour and a half measuring every floor and writing things down and sketching. The next guy comes, about 2 weeks later, same age, but he's got the laser, but he's done in like 15 minutes. And so he was adaptable. Guess which one we're gonna hire? It'll be that guy. Like the old guy scared me. Like, what's he gonna be doing? What has he learned since he learned how to do flooring? And then, I know I zipped through this, but I'm sure we'll have questions and we can talk. But I'll leave you with a quote from a guy that I got to work with. I was lucky enough to work with him on Bing before I left. But I'll let you read it, because it was to the employees the first day that he took over as CEO. And if you don't know who Satya Nadella is, he runs Microsoft. And to me, if you take nothing away from this, if the guy running the biggest tech company on the earth right now feels the need to learn, read, do online courses more than he could possibly do, that's good enough for me. I mean, if that's the example. And he's at the pinnacle. He's not going any higher. Like, he's at the top of his game. But even he is afraid. If I don't know something, if I don't learn something, something's going to come out of nowhere and I'm not going to be adaptable. And we should all have that level of anxiety about adaptability. All right, so that's the bulk of the talk. And now I'm open to questions and let's dialogue.
thought it was really informative and stuff. I'm early in my career. I'm not necessarily a product manager, but I still got some good stuff out of that. So, hi everyone. My name is Vishal. I'm an engineer at. Oh, our logo's not plastered anywhere in this room. But we're a data company, so I know it's kind of a cliche to say democratize blank now, but that's really kind of been our mission, like democratize data. So I was talking with some product managers earlier, and they were talking about how all the data they collect internally at their company, and our goal as a company is to make that kind of power available to every company, from one person to Microsoft, where I used to work, which was 115,000 or something. It grows every year. So that's pretty much what we do in a very high level, but nitty gritty is you have an event, you track that event, you see how many people use your product, you see lift, A/B testing, all those kind of things, and that's something we want to do. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to find me or know Rick. Eric's been here quite a ways longer than I have, but we learn pretty quick here, which is nice. So.
Oh yeah, and one thing we got that's pretty new over at Mixtown is we also recently changed. I work on a billing team on that now. We switched from, so now you can track as much as you want, like every single thing your customers do, and you don't have to worry about like limiting what you're tracking because the billing is based on users. So you can literally collect everything that your customers do and build like funnels, flows through the product. You can build cohorts out of your customers that have similar behaviors, and anyone who wants to like add something to that tracking can do that without having to worry about like blowing up your bill like you do with some of our competitors.
We just upgraded. It's very good.
Oh, sweet.
Ooh, testimonial.
And the free plan has all the features as the more expensive plans.
Okay, we just
So-
upgraded.
Yeah, so you aren't like you don't get you get everything for free.
I love free. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, there's also free sandwiches in the back too. Thank you, Mixtown, for being here. It really works out. You have such a cool space. It is a little bit difficult to park and get here in the early evenings, but we really appreciate you hosting us. And one other thing, and then I'm gonna, you have a little bit of time to kind of like figure out what you want to say. I'm going to call on some people randomly and someone stand up. I just want you to raise your hand if you have a job maybe that you need done, or maybe you're looking for a new role in a company. You know, I think this is a good group of people. You're all kind of in the same field to be able to kind of start to put some feelers out. The other thing is, two other things. One is, next time you come, well, first of all, join our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group, so search for Products That Count Seattle. There's a Products That Counts group. You can join that too, but definitely join the Products That Count Seattle group that Bromley and I run, because it's so cool. And we'll announce who's talking at the next few sessions. So next month we have Ann Rederer and S.C. Moati, who actually runs Products That Count, is going to fly up here and host that event because I'm on vacation, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately for somebody, not for me. And then we've got a great lineup through the fall, including Nate Mock from Zillow, who's VP of Product at Zillow, Gail Jacoby, who used to work with Rick and me, but now runs a big data kind of project at Microsoft, and a few other people that are in the works. And I'm always open to new ideas of ways that we can run this to make it more interactive and more useful to you too. So feel free to contribute on the Facebook page. You all will get an email too after this. I'm going through my checklist in my mind. You all get an email after this, and with a one of those 5 top box scores. So you want to give Rick all 5s. And then on productsthatcount.com, you can also check out all of the speakers we've had before, and there's videos of each, podcasts of a number of them that have done both the talk and a podcast. So there's a lot of content up on products.account.com. So now, who wants to go first? Something they want to talk about?
Cool. So 2 interesting contradictory things to announce. One,
Your name first.
Yeah, my name is Remington Vilo. I'm a product manager at Glimpse currently, and we're hiring. So if you're interested, come talk to me. Second thing, I'm looking for another opportunity. I've been for a little while, but I'm looking to make a change. And so
You're hiring for your job, or?
I am hiring my replacement. Correct. That is happening. So
That's great.
Cool.
Maybe you should post about it on the Facebook group.
Yeah, cool. Can do that. Glimpse is a last mile customer experience company. So we were started as a location sharing company back before the iPhone, out of Windows, or out of a Windows embedded team, and has been a consumer to consumer or peer to peer location sharing for a long time. But now we're focused on businesses sharing their location to consumers and consumers sharing their location to businesses in that last mile experience. Thank you.
Who else wants to get up and say something that they're working on, or we're gonna call? You're gonna pick on Renee.
Oh, are you?
Renee, come on, tell everybody about what you're working on. What you can say, of course.
Yeah, it's tough. So I'm Renee. I've been a product manager at Microsoft for about 3 years now. I can't unfortunately not talk about my work at all. I work in the AR hardware space, so. But I have a side project that I've recently started because of my time at Skype when I was working with Stephen. I was constantly struggling with the fact that when you're in communication space, you are actually enforced into getting notifications, and it's actually pushing you to get annoyed rather than actually just getting messages so you can be helpful and just triage them later on and reply to them later on. So I've written this little tool that's called Yocto Chat. You can go into it. It's yocto.chat. It's a Mac app that essentially puts Facebook Messenger into your menu bar, and it hides it away. It doesn't show any notifications. It doesn't ding if you don't want it to. And it just shows a tiny little circle if you get new messages. And I feel like, I'm guilty. I use Facebook Messenger at work all the time. So this way, at least, I get to do a lot of work in my focus time. And then every now and then, I can check on my messages without getting too distracted. So go to yocto.chat. Yocto.chat. Yocto is actually the exact opposite of Google. So it's minus 19 zeros instead of plus 19, I believe. So Yocto is YOCTO.chat. Yeah, yocto.chat. And it's actually using Mixpanel. Just FYI.
I love that idea. It reminds me of, did you hear about this Mark Zuckerberg crafted this wooden box for his wife as a gift that has a light in the base. She had been waking up every night to look at see what time it is, see if it's time to get up. And every time she would do that, she'd not be able to get back to sleep. So he made this box for her that when it starts to get closer and closer time to wake up, there's a kind of a halo that appears upon the bottom of the box, and so she doesn't have to look at the clock any longer. She looks to see whether or not this nice pleasant light is coming up next to her, and now she's sleeping through the night. So I like your idea too, because it kind of it brings back some sanity to the world. We're all and it manages something that's kind of out of control in our lives right now. So cool. Well, I think that's about it. Unless Brahma, you have something you want to announce.
Yeah, keep doing it. So I recently quit my job, and I'm right now full-time pursuing a startup, and we basically make all natural air conditioners made with plants and terracotta. Terracotta is a certain form of clay. Completely out of what I was doing earlier. I was a product manager in a healthcare for a healthcare data platform. And then I was a product manager for a startup that was looking at a marketplace. And now I'm making parts. I am anything but conventional right now. So today's talk, I feel like was completely tailored to my requirements. So yeah, if you guys are interested in understanding more about how to cool down your spaces without producing a lot of poisonous gases, without eating up a lot of energy, talk to me. Yeah, the company's name is called Ant Studio. Yeah.
Cool. And, yeah, hi.
I'm Brian. I just graduated from my MBA at CMU and moved here to Seattle. So I'm looking for a job here. My interests are in analytics and machine learning, and I'll be really thankful if anyone knows anything in that space.
Well, there is a company that comes to mind in that space.
You two should talk. Yeah.
I'm Peter, and Fong and I are here from a team called AppSheet. It's a local team that is scaling pretty rapidly right now, and the platform is like a no-code app development platform. So if you're familiar with Power Apps, this is like a easier version of that. And we're in the product marketing team. We have around 10,000 or so trials every month, and we're trying to figure out ways of helping those new users get into the product more efficiently. So that's thanks for letting us join.
Great. So I work on a product called Teams, Microsoft Teams. We're a competitor to Slack. If you ever use Slack, I'm sure most of you have. We're always looking for great engineers and product managers and designers. And so come by and talk to me too afterwards. I'll give you a card. I work on education, but recently my boss came and told me to take over all the regulated industries. So I was like, what? Healthcare? What is that? Financial services? Oh my goodness, government? I was doing so good. So, look, thank you all for coming, and please do come again. So it's one night a month, and bring a couple people with you. It's kind of fun. A little trick: the doors do close downstairs at 6 o'clock, but there's this nice sushi restaurant over here in the corner. They seem to stay wide open, and they have a back exit that turns out that's right next to the elevators that take you up to the 4th floor. So if you're ever walked out of here, go through and have a quick bite of sushi, and then come on upstairs. And that's it. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.